A very good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Livetalk, The Connection, a platform where we discuss issues affecting young people. And we are coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington this Tuesday, October the 18th, 2022. And tonight, your host, I am Evans Zeninga in Washington, D.C., standing in for my colleague, Mtungameli Nkomo. And tonight, we are talking about the arrest of tertiary education students in Zimbabwe following the arrest yesterday of 6 student leaders at the Great Zimbabwe University after trying to petition authorities over 400% fees hike. And the student body says it's unaffordable. The student's lawyer, Mr. Philip Shumba of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, says 3 students were charged for public nuisance, while the other 3 were released without any charges pressed. The trio was released after paying a fine of $50 each. And the arrested were Courage Gara, Shadrack Chijgamakuni, and Kimberly Joni. Today, the Students' Union confirmed of new intimidation and suspicious milling around of police forces at Midland State University in Gweru, amid fears that this could be spreading to other universities and colleges throughout the country. Muchirongwa chedu cha nhasi cheve chidiki tiri kutarisa kusungwa kwevadzidzi vemuzvikoro zvepamusoro-soro munyika zvichitevera kusungwa kwenhengo nhatu nezuro dzesangano rinomirira vadzidzi vezvikoro zvepamusoro-soro vanga vari kuZimbabwe kuGreat Zimbabwe University. Zimbabwe National Students Union kana kuti ZINASU, vadzidzi ava vakasungwa nemapurisa apo vange vachida kusvitsa gwaro renyunyuto kuvakuru vechikoro zvichitevera kukwidzwa kwemari dzedzidzo nezvikamu 400 kubva muzana. Gweta revakasungwa vaPhilip Shumba vanoshanda nesangano reZimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights vanoti vadzidzi ava vari kupomerwa mhosva yekuita zvisina maturo. Vamwe vevasungwa vanosanganisira Courage Gara, Shadrack Chijgamakuni namuzvare Kimberly Joni vakazosunungurwa mushure mekubvisa mari inoita $50 yemadhora ekuAmerica pamunhu. Vamwe vatatu havana kubvisiswa faindi. Nhasi utungamiri hweZINASU wazivisawo kuti zvimwe zvikoro zvakaita seMidland State University kuGweru zvaswera zvine mapurisa nevasori vachiedza kuchichidzira vadzidzi vari kuchirwa kuti vanogona kuratidzira zvakare ikoko. Vamwe vadzidzi paUniversity of Zimbabwe vakasungwa mushure mekuratidzira pakakwidzwa mari dzedzidzo mwedzi wakapera. Regai titange nekunzwa mutauriri weZINASU kumasvingo vatadiwa mushonga vachitaurawo pamusoro pekusungwa kwevamwe vavo kwakaitika nezuro.
Isusu tinoona sekunge kumbonikidzwa kodzero dzedu nemapurisa nekuti isusu munoona kukwira kwaita fees vashomari vanokwanisa kudzibhadhira bhusi wazhinji wedu wabereki wedu macivil servants saka tinoona kuti mari hatikwanisi kuibhadhara. Pese patinoti tiratidzire kuti tiradzire kodzero dzedu tinoonekwa tichisungwa. Mapurisa aya ndoona sekunge anenge achitiona sekunge tatumwa neopposition asi tinenge tichitofosawo nesituation inenge iri paground kuti tinge tichiratidzira nekuti fees hapana munhu angambotumwe mbari make kuti anoratidzira but zvinongomusimidza zvega nekuti fees yakakwira zvakanyanya.
Avo vanga vari mutauriri weZINASU kumasvingo vatadiwa mushonga vachitaura pamusoro pekusungwa kwevamwe vavo nezuro vari kwakare kumasvingo. To kick off our discussion, we are joined via Skype. We were hoping to get him on Skype. Unfortunately, our network is not doing very well in the side of the country where he is. We have the ZINASU national spokesperson, Linon Mazuru. Mr. Mazuru, can you hear me? Welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you always for coming through, man. We are here discussing about these arrests that happened yesterday. Probably let's start off by finding out what triggered these arrests yesterday.
As you know that it is the tradition of the regime, the tradition of all those captured institutions that whenever the students try to speak out, whenever the students try to air out their grievances, they try to thwart and silence the students. So, as you know, since the start of the year, this has been the tradition of the regime. In fact, not only at the start of this year, but since the past, that has been the tradition of the regime. And this year alone, the arrest has been on the high, starting in March, whereby 10 of the University of Zimbabwe students were arrested for people demonstrating against the fees act. And speaking right now today, they were in court for a case which they were arrested in March. A case whereby the state haven't made a trial date for them, and it was only given today. And you know that it's not yet over. So it is only emanating from students trying to speak out from the issue to do with exorbitant fees. That's why you are saying.
We hear you there, Mr. Mazur. Let me cut it short right there. We hear you. But as of today, since you mentioned about the ongoing court cases that were happening today, does that have anything to do with what's going on the ground today? What's the situation like?
Yeah, all the institutions at GZU were fed up with police and also those non-informed CIDs. Fears are that students are going to protest and demonstrate against the fees which were being released last week, and the situation is not even sober for the students. And speaking of students which we arrested yesterday, it didn't go away with us, it didn't go away with the students, because the students didn't break any law by just airing and petitioning the institution of the fees which we had.
So would we safely say Paris zvino kutaura kwatiri kuita uku vana vechikoro vamwe vanga vasina kusungwa nezuro nevari mune mamwe macolleges nemauniversities around the country vari safe here mamiriro akaita zvino?
No, we are not even safe. We are not even safe at all. And speaking of which, even today at the Women's University in Africa, at the campus of Harare, where there was SRC election, ZANU-PF and the council fit in the campus, and they were beating up students who were voting and financial agents. And it's a clear sign that even next year, ZANU-PF is going to do that to the whole nation. And it is starting in institutions of higher learning, tertiary education. So that's where it's all starting, and we are not safe.
So tambenge tichiedza kutsvagawo kunzwa kune vamwe vari kunana Bulawayo, kunana Gweru nekupukupi uko. Hopefully tichavabata pachirongwa tigonzwawo kuti kwavari kwakamira sei. Imimi makaotarisa zviri kuitika iko zvino, mungati here yatova nyaya yekuti zvikoro zvese zvepamusoro muZimbabwe yangowo njake kana kuti kune zvimwewo zvichiri kusara zvakamira vachiti kuno mari dziri nani, hakuna nyaya dzekumbunyikidzwa nekunetsa kwemapurisa kuri kuitika uko?
Paris, what the government did, they started off with the University of Zimbabwe, and you saw what the students did there. And they are now checking in that students of Zimbabwe, at the University of Zimbabwe, it didn't go away to what they were expecting. And right now, the fees which we take at the university, it was put at hold by the High Court. So they are now trying to force in other institutions. For instance, the Chinoy University, it also raised their fees. Midland State University, it also raised its fees. Great Zimbabwe University also. And to follow, NAST it also raised its fees, and the likes of Benjula University is also going to raise its fees. Speaking of teachers' colleges and polytechnics, the fees hasn't been raised as of yet, but we know that they are going to raise, especially this coming next term, they are going to raise the fees, and it's not going to be just cool.
All right, let's hold it right there, Mr. Mazuru. Please don't go away. I will be right back with you. We are also trying to hear from other guests around the country. We were talking earlier on to Mr. Benon Ncube, who is apparently in Bulawayo, also with Zinaso. Mr. Ncube, are you on the line? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on to the show. We understand you are in Matabeleland, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's probably start by giving us a little bit of the situation around there today. We had MSU was spitting fire today.
Yeah, we have a problem. Okay, apparently being national president, I get to hear a lot of these situations happening around. And the one that is closest to my province, being NSU, because the Midlands next to Matabeleland, we have a situation whereby the institutions of Harlem have decided to incorporate state security in its affairs, where one wonders exactly what is the point of having them. So what happened was, afterwards, issues of fees hikes, and students were not even protesting, but expressing how they were not comfortable with these fees hikes on social media and around campus. The next day, the whole campus flooded with police. So it's a trend that has been ongoing, and it gets us really worried as students and as a union to exactly how do we have a relationship with the state security if we are saying we're an institution and we are saying we've got a relationship with the administration and the students. Where does the police come in such situations? All
right. So for the benefit of our other listeners, in the Matabeleland region and areas, maybe if you can come in Ndebele and are the students being violent, as suggested by sending in of the police and all the security structures? Alwa.
No, abantwana abali, because into mele siyizwisise ukuthi abantwana bayazwisisa ukuthi bona abatholanga mbhobho, abatholanga mvubu, abatholanga shamboko. Into abayitshoyo ukuthi i-school fees esibhalwe administration siphezulu kakhulu, abenelisi ukusibhadalisa, abawenelisi ukusibhadala. Yikho lokhu abakutshoyo. So nxa bekutsho bengakahambi lasesikolo, bengakahambi la ku-ground ongathwa idemo, bekhuluma besemaklasini lapho abafunda khona, bekhuluma bemafonini, then kusasa bese kubuya kusetshenziswa lamapholisa. Yikho sokusenza abantwana bese bezibuza ukuthi nxa sisithi siyasikhuluma ngokuthula ngelipholile ukuthi imali leyo ebhalwe ku-notice board aseyenelisi, kuvuke sekulamapholisa kusasa. Kanti umahluko wokuthi sibange umsindo wakhona usungaphi? Kodwa ngiyaqinisa ngisisho ukuthi akula student oke wona wachaya umuntu wabhidlika wachisa anything. So asingeke sithi bayalwa ngoba thina asizi, thina sithi imali leli siyibhadala asiyenelisi. Bona yibo abalwayo ngokuthi kunokuthi basiphendule bona baletha amapholisa ezobopha ama-students. Imali abaningi kuyibhadala.
Manje ke Ncube hako usitshele lapho lina as students liyaphi manje with this situation? Where is this taking you?
Thina asila ngenye indlela ngoba ecingeni kumele sifunde. Nakho ukwakhiwa kwesikolo sakhona yena ama-university NSU UZ ukuthi abantwana bafunde. Njalo sesivele sa-enrolla sesindlini sesibomnyaka esibili wesithathu wesine abanye bayabuya. Sithi thina nxa singenelisi ukubhadala imali leli siyibhadale. Isizwe bathi siyaphuma sonke singangeni esikolo, o thina siyangena esikolo sibeze bantu basitshele basifake indlela yokuthi sinelise ukubhadala le mali abayifunayo. Siyazwisisa ukuthi umkhonomi unzima, njalo ngabona kuzisa thina ama-students sitshela bona yibo kumele bazwisise kakhulu ngoba ama-institutions la ngawe-government ngakahulumende. So nxa thina sizwisisa sithi thina kunezinye indlela ezingafakwa phansi njengokuthi kuthiwe bhadala i-half ukusenelisa ukubhala exam, or bathi bona uzabhala i-examination sizagcina imali zawo uzoyibhadala. Lezi izindlela ezokuthi eklisensi ukufunda, but ungabuya ukhweze inani le-school fees kodwa lapho ufake i-deadline inyanga ezayo. lokho kwenza ukuthi sisele singakwenza ngaphandle kokuzama ngazo zonke indlela zokuthi sifunde sibele zokuqeda ngoba kuncedana ukuthi sibe eminyakeni yesibili wesile ukuphushisa nemali owaziyo ukuthi ye uyikhupha ngiyafuna uyikhupha but isikhathi ongiphesona ukuthi ngiyikhuphe sifithayo.
All right, aywa ngiyakuzwa Ncube hako uyibambe lapho kancane. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back we're going to continue and delve more into detail and maybe give a perspective of the regional position compared to what you have as Zimbabwean students today. So please don't go away. We will take a short break and we will be right back and we'll take it on.
The search is on for Africa's best and brightest minds in finance, cybersecurity, technology, and anything digital, making social impact through cutting-edge technologies, innovation, and creativity in Africa. Out of 17,000 candidates from 50 countries in North, Central, East, West, and Southern Africa, only 3 will be selected from the top 10 continental finalists from Egypt, Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Cameroon. Join the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and its prestigious partners, including the Voice of America, when the 3 finalists are featured at the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit in December 2022 in Washington. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, and for those that have just joined us, please note we are streaming live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We are also live on YouTube as VOA Zimbabwe. We continue with our discussion with the 2 guests that we have online, Mr. Muzuru and Mr. Ncube. Apparently, Mr. Muzuru is on the Harare side and Mr. Ncube is in the Matabeleland side. That gives us a very clear perspective of the most popular areas in the country. So let's come back to you, Mr. Ncube. Let me start with you. What do you think is the regional standard when it comes to fees in tertiary schools?
Well, engingakutsho lapha ukuthi akukho fair akuliqondanga ukuthi sikhangele imali ebhadalwa ngezinye ama-university aku-region yethu. Nxa siku-region sithi Southern African Development Committee, right? Asenelisi ukukhangela ngaleyo ndlela, singazange sakhangela iholo eliphiwa izisebenzi zalawo mazwe. Ngabona futhi umkhokheli welizwe ebhala esithi ilizwe lethu lelemfundo ebhadalekayo. The Minister of Education yasithi ku-region yethu isifundo lethu yibo abacela imali ephansi kulamanye amazwe, but abasakhangelanga indlela yokuthi eku-region yethu simi ngaphi ekuholiseni izisebenzi ezizwe ezihambisa abantwana besikolo. Ku-region yethu simi ngaphi ekupheni imisebenzi, employment rate ku-region yethu simi ngaphi ekuthini sithi laba abazisebenza ama-student azisebenza bayenelisa yini ukuthola imali yokuthi babhadale. Ngoba singaqala ukukhangela i-region ne-university fees kuphela, sithiya amanye ama-fees ayiwo ayenza umuntu enelise ukubhadala imali, sabe singenzanga ukuqondileyo ngoku-analyze i-situation esiyiyo. So ku-region yethu yeba ngathi imali phansi, but ku-region yethu yithi abantu abangaphansi ekuholeni, yithi abantu abalabantwana abaningi abangelamsebenzi, yithi esile-inflation eningi kakhulu. So labo sizitshela ukuthi labo nxa bangakazi ukuthi besitshela ukuthi imali yethu esiyibhadale ku-region incane, sithi kumele baqale bakhangele ukuthi umkhonomi wamanye ama-region wona njenge-government bazifaka ngaphi, bazifaka phezulu yini. Xa bezifaka phezulu sesingavuma lathi ukuthi bathi basicele imali, but nxa bevuma ukuthi kuyala lathi zitshela ukuthi kumele beze ukuthi bezwisisa ukuthi kibo kuyala njalo ukuthi angeke uphonge uvuma nje kuphela kibo kusala.
All right, aywa kuyazwakala. We hear you loud and clear. I'm hoping we will also be getting a couple of callers from all over the country to also weigh in the situation. So if you can hang on there for a second and see if we can get callers to chip in. Mr. Mazuru, I will come back to you and through this. You heard what President Nube is saying. Imimi kuharare kwamuri uko muri kuonawo sei muchitarisa zvimwe zvikoro zviri kunze uko nemuAfrica muSADC as a region muchitarisa nemamiriro zvakaita muZimbabwe makamirawo papi sevadzidzi?
Okay, chinhu chekutanga isusu seunion seZimbabwe we are advocating for an education which is accessible and affordable. But we cannot measure affordability, especially when it's not sustainable. And looking at the situation here in Zimbabwe, mamiriro akaita zvinhu hazvikwanisi tichibhadhara mazimari akawanda. Yes, it's reasonable out there to other countries because their economies, their currencies are stable and they can, even the workers are earning something which they can afford to pay up for the fees. But here in Zimbabwe, it's so senseless that the ministry and the government take fees which are way above a minimum wage of a worker. It's so unjustifiable.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up there, Mr. Mazuru. We have some few callers lined up to also chip in. This show will not be solid if we leave them out, but I would really love to appreciate the both of you gentlemen for being on the show tonight and sharing your views. If you can wrap up in a quick nutshell, and then we can take our callers as well.
All right, maybe I'll shut that. Thank you for this opportunity. And as the union, we are saying that the students are not raised and the students are not going to be moved by any intimidation and any suppression from the government and institutions. Hence, we are going to advocate for academic freedoms and rights, and we are going to push for accessible quality education which is affordable to each and every child here in Zimbabwe.
All right. That's a whole lot, sir, and we appreciate you, man. Unfortunately, we are a little limited. I will have to take a couple of callers. We understand we have a caller live on air. Good evening and welcome to Live Talk. Can you hear me? Mr. Boris, vamguti zviri kufamba here?
Yes, I can hear you. Using English or I should keep using Shona?
Chero Chishona, chirongwa chenyika yese tinoda kubata Chishona, tinoda kubata English, tinoda kubata Ndebele, makasununguka. Feel free to weigh in a language you prefer to throw today on the show. What's your take with the situation going on in the country with the students?
A lot is transpiring. Recently, I was looking at what transpired at the Women's University in Harare. We had an SRC election today, and unfortunately, in the late hours of the day, two combis full of ZANU-PF youth from airports were deployed to the university to disrupt the election process. And I'm being told that the results have not been counted because of that violence. They chased out our agents from the center at which the elections were being held, and we do not know what is actually transpiring right now. So this is a very sad situation, a situation in which ZANU-PF has already started oiling its violence machinery, a situation in which students are not safe in Zimbabwe. We are being attacked on a daily basis, either directly or indirectly. When we talk about the issues of fees, this is an indirect attack, but it goes on to affect the livelihood of the students and the life of the parents as well. Because the parents are being burdened to pay exorbitant amounts of fees, yet they are getting very low salaries. Because when we talk about students, we have to be aware that most of the students that are in the institutions of violence are sons and daughters of civil servants, and civil servants are getting something below 200 US.
Vamuguti nyaya muri kutaura ndaibata iyo tiri kuinzwa ihope vateereri vakateerera vakunzwaiwo vakunzwisisaiwo takatsikirirwa tine vamwe vari kuchinhoi vari kudawo futi kukandawo mamwe mashoko regai tivapewo mukana. But I really love to thank you for coming on the show and weighing in and throwing in your views on this. Let's get on to the next caller in Chinoi. Alwin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Makasimba here vanzvadzi kwakadiko kuChinoi?
Zvina kumira zvakanaka taisvika tizotaura kuti tiri kufara asi hazvina kutimira zvakanaka sevadzidzi kuChinoi. Kutaura kunoti takatongoudzwa hatina wiki taudzwa kuti fizi yakuiswa by more than 800%. And yakuidzwa kudaro tiri kunzi maizeni zvaari kumuswe Friday tikutarisirwa kunzi tichinge tabhadhara yose yakakudzwa iyoyo. Otherwise hatibvunidzwe kuti tipinde mumaexam chirungu kuti tikwanise kunyora maexam. Ichi chinhu chekuti hatisi kutishamisa kana kuti chinhu chekuti hatisi kuti inhau yekutichidzirwa nekuti zvatova nemasemesters mairi zvichitoitika. Tichotesa mhete tinatisinesa kune vadzidzi vakatodhiseya vamwe vakatoguma izvezvo vari kutotekorodza zvidzidzo zvavaide vakanyora lasemester nekuti musi weexam wakatonzi kana usina kupedza drafizese waisapinda muexam renu munotonzi munopiwa mapasi ekuti anofanira kuratidza kuti wakabhadhara fizi yese. Saka izvezvi tinokutsuruwara kukuru. Izvi zviri kubva zvanyatsoratidzawo zvakare kuti hurumende haisisinei nekudzidza kana kuti neliteracy level yevechidiki munyika munomu. Zvaakuratidza kuti ma-institutions of higher learning kana kuti mauniversities akutoshandiswa sehurumende sema-fundraising project ekuti vakwanisa kutumidzira mari dzavo dzekuita zvavangada kana zvakawandira. Nekuona kuti hapana kana maefforts avari kuitawo kuti pange paine magrants. Izvezvizvo zviri kunzitorai maloni kana musingakwanisi kugadzira fizi asi kuiterisa loni yacho iyoyo yatiri cdbs. Kana usina mbereki kana mutarisiri anokutaimira haukwanisi kuiaccessa loniyo. Saka loni ndeyevana vagara vachikwanisa kuti vapere chikoro kudhara nekuti nherera kana kuti vadzidzi vanozvionera havakwanisi kuti vaitore nekuti havana mapayslip. Saka
nguva yedu inotidzipa manje hanzvadzi.
With more than 50% of the ladies who are remaining dropping out of university because we are not allowed to write exams unless we are fully paid. Of which these are fees. We cannot afford them. Our parents
Chiregai ndikubatei muromo hanzvadzi.
Commercial sex trade, kwatova nemagroup pakampasi ekuti zvinotoni nhasi kune blesa kana tinana academy.
Muri kundinzwa here?
Munhu wakana votoenda kuti asimudze mari.
Unfortunately, I will have to let you go, my sister. The time is killing us, and we will love to wrap up. And thank you so much for coming in and weighing in. Tinotenda nezvamauya okuzotaura pamberi penyika yeZimbabwe nezviri kuitika munyika. I want to thank everyone that has joined today on this show. We thank our. We still have Mr. Ncube on the line, do we? Mr. Ncube, are you still there?
Yes.
Please, your last remarks, and then we can wrap up and close the show. Please, throw in your last words.
Well, ilungelo lokufunda alisekho ezandleni zomunye umuntu ngaphandle kwethu njengabaza njengama-students. Ngakho-ke kuyithi ukuthi sizivikele enze uqeda ukufunda ngoba vele ilizwe lomile leli indlela esilayo kuphela ukuthi senelise ukuphila ukufunda. Ngakho-ke sizakwenza konke okusemandleni ethu ukuthi senelise ukuthi imfundo igcine njalo ihlale inesisindo lezwe lelapho. Akula muntu ozabuya ezokhupha umntwana eklasini ngokuthi kabhadalanga. Lokho sizakulisa.
Siyakuzwa Baba Ncube. I would like to thank you very much for coming on to the show. Also to our other brother Vamazuru, tinokutendai kunge mapinda mchirongwa, and all the other listeners that called in, and all the other guests, and all the viewers wherever you are in Zimbabwe and across the world. We thank you for being with us tonight. And that brings us to the end of our show. We will be with you again in a week on The Connection Live Talk. This is your host today, Ivan Zininga, and it's a good night.